What are ugly ads?
Yeah, just take the pretty vibes that you're used to making as a marketer and just make it less pretty. Like, that's it. Do not look at your competitors. Just don't. Don't do that. Like, please, for the love of God, ignore your competitors, because all your competitors are doing are looking at other competitors, and those competitors are looking at them.
It becomes an echo chamber with inside certain industries.
Correct.
You have iterated yourself to oblivion that you're not even creating like new things.
I get caught up in this. It is the customer a little bit, but if you over focus on just your existing customers, then you are failing to find ways to grow to other customers and other potential audiences. It's all about authenticity. It's so easy to shoot content. Everyone is constantly shooting content, and everyone is constantly consuming that kind of content, that seeing stuff that is more polished is actually less common, and seeing stuff that is like marketing, advertising-y styled, branded, blah, blah, blah. That's not what anyone wants to see. Your brain is like, no, skip.
Would you say that when creating ugly ads, you want to dive a little bit more into the customer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
What's up, marketers? I'm here for an incredibly special episode with the creator or founder of Ugly Ads, Barry Hott. Now, I have worked for Barry Hott for years. He was actually my former boss at Thesis, and he hired me. So I'm super excited to dive in today to talk about Ugly Ads and what's next for him after,
what?
You're really
After
just like,
what?
I don't know.
After this podcast, after we record this, probably
Right?
gonna go home.
Yeah, just really what you're up to and what you're gonna do next.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, no, that's the big question.
Right. So do you want to give a little intro for yourself for people who maybe haven't heard of you yet?
Sure. You want the little intro or the big intro?
Let's do the big intro.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Barry Hott. I've been a long-time Facebook advertiser doing Facebook ads since 2008. So that's way too long. I started doing it for like summer camp, hiring, and then worked at for a local sushi restaurant and hair salon, and eventually worked my way up to working at a startup where we were running the ads for massive brands like AT&T, Toyota, Kraft, Microsoft. You don't act like you know this. You could recite this yourself. I think you did recite this to me the other night. So I spent hundreds of millions of dollars for those big brands, and then I left that space to be more focused on direct-to-consumer, aggressive growth stuff. So I've been more focused on like brands like Lumen Skin,
Which we worked on together.
Yes, we did. Keeps, Urban Stems, Nuts.com, and then more recently stuff like Harry's Razors, and then a bunch of like really small stuff and like kind of some weird stuff that makes good money, like carcovers.com. I love working on carcovers.com.
Yeah, we're going to dive into that. Yeah, so to give you a sense of how long Barry has actually been working on Facebook ads, he's been working on the platform since the only placement option was the right column.
Yeah, and there was no optimization for anything, by the way. It was just clicks. It was just CPC.
So you couldn't even see if people were buying or
there was no tracking. No, there was no tracking. There was just, you could just get clicks, and then that's all you could bid for. So you just would make like clickbait stuff to get the lowest possible cost per click. So now I consult. I do consulting advising for agencies, brands, marketers, anyone who wants to like improve what they do. That's kind of what I do now. And then I work on a few brands myself, and I own a piece of a creative agency, iterate, that you're familiar with. And now I just also started working on a brand called Rotten, eatrotten.com, where I'm doing their head of growth. So I am doing their paid social and creative and all that stuff. So I'll be running the ads. And
you brought some in here today,
I did
actually.
bring some.
Yeah.
Shout out to Rotten. Go order some eatrotten.com. They're really delicious. They're I think they're more like fruit snacks than traditional gummy worms, but they are rad. And we're going to take over like the whole candy world like very quickly. I also helped launch Lone River Ranch Water in 2020, which is a hard seltzer, kind of a Texas, Tennessee, Southern vibe. And that got acquired in 2021. I did that as on the side while I was working with you, I think.
That was when we were at Thesis when you were working on Ranch Water.
That was on the side, and then that got acquired, and I've kind of just been wanting to find another product I can like sink my teeth into and have a bunch of ownership of, and now I have that again with Rotten, and I'm super fired up to get to work on that. And I think I'm going to start making content, hopefully, and hopefully you can hold me
I mean,
accountable.
you've been wanting to create content for
so
a
true.
while now.
So hold me accountable on that and like get me to like make content about.
I'm just going to rent out this
launch.
podcast studio once a month and
just
force
force
you
me
to
to,
come
like, come
in
and
and make
shoot.
all
Yeah.
your content for the month.
Yeah, that's a good idea. But like, I just really need to just record in my office, just like me, like setting up
Yeah.
ads, running, making optimizations, talking about the creative edit that I did,
Yeah, I think honestly, people would really be interested in following your journey of growing Rotten, especially since you're at the pre-launch phase and you guys are going to be launching next week, and really what that journey is about for someone working on the ground level with a brand and its founders.
Yeah, it is really unique, especially with my experience, kind of having been through this before. Like knowing, I kind of just know what I need to do, and I'm just doing it. So it's funny to me, like thinking like, oh, someone would want to watch this. I'm like, no, this is so easy. This is so basic. But like in reality, there's a lot of people that have no idea what to do. And I'm just like, oh no, I'll set up a lead campaign just to do a pre-launch lead thing, and then set up a link click campaign because we're not optimizing for purchase yet. And then like, although
but people would be really fascinated
they
in
would
that.
I think anyone who just heard me say link click campaign that knows me well would be like, what?
Well, you said lead gen campaign, and
I
I'm
did.
like,
yeah. Yeah. And like a link click campaign's even more foreign if you really think about it. But like just to like get stuff flowing, because we're not selling really on the site yet, just to like get that going and see how a couple ads do against each other in terms of, getting people to go to the site,
or even just comment on the ads and see like what the initial reaction is,
and just to get shake the cobwebs off of the. I mean, they're not really cobwebs. It's like really get the wrapping off of the ad account. Just like really tear that thing open and get some spend flowing through it, trying to suss out any issues that happen. Like I shouldn't even say this now. I'll just keep that for my content. I don't want to tell you this now. But yeah, so like that's the stuff that I'm working on right now, and I'm super fired up about it. Just getting to be creative again about one product that I have ownership of, and I don't have to like go to a client and be like, hey, what if we do this? And they're like, oh no, we don't have time. No,
because you can just do it.
Yeah,
you don't have to like bid for like what you want to do, or try to convince someone the value of
I have to
do.
a little bit. Like I still like work with the CEO and like the creative director, but they're both like, like that's a great idea. Oh, you want to do this crazy thing where we buy a crappy used creepy van to give away to a fan.
Look out for that ad, by the way. Jeez.
Or we might use that to like distribute candy, like free candy from a white van.
Oh my gosh.
Like even if we don't do that, like just that we have the creativity flowing on that, because maybe I'll just make a static image ad of just a pack of the gummies in front of a creepy white van. Like, and that alone is
put a post-it
content.
note on the van.
Yeah.
More on that in a bit.
Nice.
So on that, I want to dive in a little bit more into this idea of ugly ads, which is something that you're really pioneering right now in the industry. So if someone doesn't know what ugly ads are, how can you break that down? What are ugly ads?
Yeah, I actually got asked this I get asked this all the time. Someone asked me at a bar, an event last night. They're like, "What the heck does that mean?" And I describe it as like just take the pretty vibes that you're used to making as a marketer, and just make it less pretty. Like that's it. We're all
goodbye brand marketing.
Well, yeah, wait. So that's actually so that's. I met someone last night. They introduced themselves and they were like, "I am a brand marketer." I was like, "Oh, you're not gonna like me." It was so good. But it was just like we're all trained as marketers. Either if you like, I went to school for marketing. But even if I didn't, like every job I've had, I was reporting to someone who had a background in marketing, and those people went through either school or other people that were older than them going through that had been marketing forever, and it's always like, oh, make this really polished thing, make this really clever messaging, make this really whatever stuff, and it's just like so far from what consumers on social media want to hear and see. It makes sense in like print publications, it makes sense in TV where there is that polished. TV is polished, like. It should, the ads you put alongside that should be polished. It would have been weird to have like a VHS quality, like 20 years ago, have a VHS quality video TV commercial in between, a fancy TV show. Like that wouldn't, maybe it would be good and be jarring, and maybe that did work for
Is
someone.
that why the Blair Witch Project was like semi-successful?
Yeah, yes. Like, there's totally like, I should use that as an example more. Like that's a great point. Like it's all about authenticity. Back then it would have been weird to do that. But now, because it's so easy to shoot content. Everyone is constantly shooting content, and everyone is constantly consuming that kind of content, that seeing stuff that is more polished is actually less common, and seeing stuff that is like marketing, advertising-y styled, branded, blah, blah, blah. That's not what anyone wants to see. And we have subconscious ad blockers that kind of just prevent us from even engaging with or wanting to, or even taking the time to see that stuff on Facebook. Your brain is like, no, skip.
Yeah.
It immediately knows not to even bother paying attention from it as soon as the first few pixels scroll into the frame in Instagram or Facebook or whatever.
Which is why I think like user-generated content or more like iPhone produced content is so popular. Because like now people are using TikTok more akin to the way they're using Netflix, and it's for entertainment. And they are entertained by creators who have their own production capabilities, essentially, which is just an iPhone these days. So,
usually, yeah. We're not shooting on iPhones.
No, we are not. This is a whole different thing.
For a Facebook ad, right?
Yeah.
This is for YouTube or for wherever. Like, this is for a place where people are going to sit down. They're already choosing to watch this content, right? We don't need to get their attention.
Yeah.
We've already gotten your attention. You're watching this right now. Like, we've succeeded there. So, but with Facebook ads, you don't have people's attention. You are used to be fighting with, you know, just like your friends, right? Or as an advertiser, we used to be fighting with making content that like your friends were putting up, or like the celebrities that you follow.
Yeah.
Right. But now Instagram, Facebook has all been TikTokified in that the content that you're seeing is not stuff you're even following. Like it's not stuff you've opted into.
It's all for you page.
Yeah. It's all, you know, you might see your friends' stuff and some like whatever that you follow, but like then you're just getting spoon fed the most viral content on the planet. Not even the most viral content on the planet, the most relevant content to you and your interests on the planet, right to you. And now we're having to, as advertisers, compete with that.
Yeah.
So it is harder than ever to make good, relevant content. And there's a lot of people might say like UGC is dead. We've heard that. But
I made a video about that a number of months ago.
Yeah, I remember that. It was a great one. And, you know, my whole take on that is like, it is in that you can't just film UGC and expect it to work.
Yeah.
There was a while where like the idea of Make Ugly Ads was just like, you literally just go make anything and it'll work better than your pretty thing. But now it's like, you still have to make it look authentic and you have to build story and you have to build content that is worth consuming. And that content that's worth consuming has to be relevant, and then it has to sell. Literally, that's it right there. If someone's watching this and they just take what I just said and extract that and can execute that, then you're going to be rich. But it's not.
Yeah,
easy.
but that's a really hard ask of
All
brands.
Of that's hard.
And I think that for brands who, you know, have heard you talk and are interested in, you know, especially interested in scaling on Facebook ads or TikTok ads, and they realize, hey, the way that we used to create ad content isn't working anymore. Yeah. How would you advise a brand who has never worked or has never created ugly ads? How would you advise them to get started?
Yeah, a few things. One, just go shoot ads. Just go shoot ads right now yourself. That's the easiest thing. It's like.
So do you think they should just take their phone, walk out the door, and shoot an ad?
Yeah.
It's like one shot, one take?
I don't care if it's one shot, one take. Go shoot 20 takes. Go shoot, you know, just turn the camera on, let it roll for 20 minutes. I don't care. Do it selfie, walking around. Just go and shoot it, and you'll get the creative juices flowing. You'll start to have new ideas about it. You'll start to see the challenges that you face, even if you're not comfortable on camera, even if you're not comfortable speaking, even if English isn't your native language, just go shoot something. If you can have yourself on camera, cool. If you can't, shoot the product while you talk about it. Shoot something else while you talk about it. But just
shoot B-roll, do some voiceover after.
Dude, just get it going.
Yeah.
Right? Like, just get that flowing, and then watch it back, even if that's really uncomfortable for you, and try and think through, like, is any of this useful or relevant to my audience?
Yeah. The way that I like to think about it too, sometimes when I'm working with brands and they're getting started on this ugly ad style or this more authentic style, is like, think about how you would potentially, not as a creator, but just as a person, number one, if you're FaceTiming with a friend and you're showing them a product, like what does that look like? What are you talking to them about what you like? Or if you are doing some content for Instagram stories, like sometimes like even just like POV, taking a shot of the product or talking about a service and thinking about how you would talk through that on camera or while on FaceTime with someone.
Yeah, that's such an important key to all of this, is talk right? Speak like you're talking to a friend.
Mm-hmm.
Don't talk like you're trying to like sell something. You're trying to talk to like the Instagram audience. Like just really try and talk to casually like a friend.
Mm-hmm.
That's it's hard to do for a lot of people, but it's still worth trying that. Maybe even have a friend there with you. Maybe
Yeah.
have someone else, like that you can talk to, and just go. And I say that the big reason why I say to do this is it is so rare. Maybe this is self-selecting. Maybe this is self-selecting that people that come to me to talk to me about this already just have this ability. But it's so rare that I talk to a founder or a CEO or someone like that who isn't passionate about what they're doing
Yeah.
in a way that they can speak about it passionately.
Yeah.
I can't recall a time where I've really met someone like that. Like they can almost always have some set of spiels.
Yeah.
It might not be exactly what needs to be in an ad, and it might not be perfectly polished or like not polished, but like the exact messaging that needs to be used, but there'll be bits and pieces and chunks. And sometimes a little bit of that like founder's why can be helpful. I don't love that much from a performance perspective.
Right.
I know you recommend that as a style.
I think founders ads are amazing.
Well, we can talk about that more.
Yeah.
I think they are, but I really get fired up when it's a founder talking about it, not as the founder, but just as the person who has the problem.
Yeah. And I think that actually founders are often most uniquely suited
Yes.
to talk that because they were so passionate
Not
about
always. Not like if they're
Not
drop
always,
shipper.
not
Sorry.
always, not
No
always.
offense to drop shippers. I love you, drop shippers.
But I do think that if they were someone who experienced that problem before or someone that they
Yes.
loved
Right.
experienced that problem,
Yes.
they are so uniquely suited
Exactly.
to communicate that problem and those pain points and like really twist that knife,
Yes.
which is why I often encourage founders, okay, like UGC style, you don't need to hire out the huge studio.
Yeah.
I've done those huge studio
Yep.
shoots for founders.
Yep.
Have I seen success with them? Yes,
No.
but I've also but I've also seen success with them.
Yeah.
Just like one shot, one take.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that's, some of the best ones I've seen are just like either like they put their camera like leaning up on their in their kitchen like on a wall and they just shoot, or they're doing it in their bathroom, or they do it in their car, or they just do it on a walk. I love a walk.
I actually think the hack for a lot of this
Yeah.
is like doing it on the street or doing it in the car.
I agree. I think having someone do it on the walk is great. Actually, my favorite possible thing you can do is like try and figure out the relevant setting to be in for it.
Yeah,
On
on the subway.
Yeah. Like where your product would maybe be used or where your problem would happen, if you could be like in that place or have it somehow relate to that.
Yeah.
That can add an extra layer of relevance because you're always you're always targeting with your creative.
Mm-hmm.
So in that first moment, whatever people see or hear, whatever their first feeling is that's going to get them to pay attention or not, it's not just about are they going to pay attention or not. It's like where in this, three-dimensional spectrum of relevance,
Yeah.
why are they going to pay attention,
Mhm.
right? So you want to be not just getting people to pay attention, but the right people and for the right reasons.
Yeah.
So if you can target with that with your words or your like setting, that helps.
What are a few brands that you think do ugly ads the right way?
Well, I've
Beside
helped.
all the ones that you worked
Damn
on.
it. I hate always plugging this, and I someone from Dr. Squatch needs to reach out to me and like say thank you because I plug them all the time. Not that they need to thank me, but like I want to just talk to them. And I think that's one of the big performance creative agencies that does a lot of their stuff.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure.
We know.
Yeah,
Wink.
I think we know. But they're just doing such wacky stuff and trying stuff. And it's not that they're doing wacky stuff. It's that they're clearly doing stuff that is ugly, but it's being done in a way that is more relevant or more based on organic styles and things that they're seeing out in the wild.
It's super like TikTokified in a way.
Yeah.
But I also think that it really a lot of their messaging too hinges on like a core human desire. Like a lot of times they're not even talking about soap at first.
Oh no, and great point, because like so many of their ads, I think some of their great ads that seem to be stuff they're iterating on and they're playing with and working on just based on looking at their ad library. Maybe they're doing that to subterfuge and trick me into thinking they work. But some of my favorite ads of theirs take 15, 16, 17 seconds, whatever it is, to get
To
to
even see
showing,
the soap.
yeah, to show the brand or the product.
Yeah.
They just live in that problem for a while, and I love to say that, like, live in the problem.
Yeah. Because I think it's a big common misconception when I'm talking with brands. They say something like, oh, you have to show your product on like second one
Yeah.
or even zero,
Yeah.
or you have to introduce it within the first like 3 to 5 seconds. And for every time that could be true or circumstantially true,
Yeah.
there's always a ton of different examples
Right.
where you're just actually twisting that knife a lot more. And you're
Yeah.
also calling out your target demo a lot more and letting them know, hey, you're in the right place.
Yeah.
Whatever I'm about to sell you,
Yeah.
we're one and the same.
By the way, I'm just so fired up that we're doing this right now. This is so
Yeah.
cool. Totally. Like, it's really neat to just like have your creative just be thinking about like not what do you want to get out of it from your brand perspective, but like what do you want a consumer to get out of it, right? Like that's really what we're focusing on. And when I going back, like I say, like live in the problem, like live in multiple problems.
Yeah.
If you can give me 5 problems in 15 seconds, geez, like now I'm like, oh my God, what is this? I need this, whatever this is. Because I have maybe 1 or 2 or 3 of those problems, maybe not all 5. Maybe I do have all 5. Maybe I didn't realize I had those problems. And now I'm like, shoot, I do have those problems. I love making ads that make someone realize, like just like I literally just created this problem, just handed it to the viewer, and now they have this problem they like have to solve.
I love getting at like really niche problems.
Yeah.
Like those are the ones that I'm like, oh yeah, like this person did their research. Do you do like research when you're beginning to work with brands and when you're beginning to like create ugly ads? And like, what does your research process look like?
I study reviews. I think you say this in your content too. Like I love to study reviews for our product and competitors and anything else in the space. Because it just helps me understand. You'll find so many like reviews that are completely useless, but 1 in 5, 1 in 10, you'll find was like I was having this blank problem.
Yep.
And I'm like, yep, that's it.
Yeah.
Like that is what I've been looking for. That is what I need, because that is relatable and not niche. I'm looking for a big problem that is hyper relatable to the biggest amount of people that I can. And so that's what I'm looking for in those problems. And I also, when I'm looking in reviews, I'm looking for like really easy to understand, really relatable statements, very simple, like 3rd grade, 5th grade level language. Like, I had this problem.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to like close that loop, by the way. And if you're using that for copy, like just even using that in an ad, I had this problem. People start to close that loop themselves.
Yeah.
Of that, whatever they're watching is the solution. So research-wise, reviews, big time. I mean, now ChatGPT. Like,
ooh, this is one that a lot of people have been wanting me to talk about on the channel. And I haven't done it yet.
It's great, dude. Like, you can just like manually throw whatever in there. But you can now get smarter with it. Like, there's a link analyzer, so you can like put a URL in there and have it analyze the page and get
analyze, like if you had like a link where all of your reviews lived,
or if you just had a PDP. I mean, just have it review the PDP and like summarize it, and you'll get a bunch of stuff back, and then you can say like, all right, make me whatever from this. Yeah. I also like for Rotten, I did that for like our, product information, whatever. And then I also transcribed our like long form launch video that we haven't launched yet, and like fed that into ChatGPT too. So it now has the landing page info and the like script for this ad, which gives like a bit of the vibe of the brand, but also gives like the story more, because it's like a 90-second or whatever it is spot. So there's a lot in there that explains like what the product is, and now it's
like you're creating an ecosystem at first before you start. Because I find like what a lot of advertisers do and where they have problems with ChatGPT is they jump in and they're like, oh, create this ad copy for this brand, and you're not creating the ecosystem beforehand.
Great point. Oh my God, great point. Yeah, like you could do that. There are sometimes where I'll just go like, okay, I'm an advertiser.
Sometimes you do want that.
Yeah. I'm an advertiser. I'm making ads for this brand, and I'll just see what it does, and sometimes it'll be okay, and I'll correct it from there, because it's so easy to just give it like corrections. Yeah. Right. Like that's great. But I was literally coaching a client the other day about this, and it was like, okay, and I watched them. He was sharing a screen, and he showed me like he started to do exactly what you just said, and I was like, well, wait, just let's extract some things first. Let's say, okay, here's the product. What are the pain points for this product? That's where I always like to start, by the way. Aside from the reviews, like ChatGPT, what are the 10 pain points of a consumer of this product?
Yeah.
And I want to know how it's going to like sort those by like priority or by like popularity. 'Cause like that's, I mean, like think about that, like 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 2 years ago, or whatever it was, to get that information reliably, you'd have to do market research.
It would be completely manual.
Or you'd have to pay like a marketing research firm for that data, or like
tens
something
of thousands
like that. Probably
of dollars.
right.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, all right, whatever. If ChatGPT like suggests this, it's good enough. Like it's good enough for me to like prioritize these pain points in this order. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. I might, I'm still going to put my, I'm going to double check it.
Yeah.
And like think through, does this make sense? Can I, use this? But like that is so valuable to me because, again, I was helping this guy with this brand the other day, and like they were going after this one problem, and I was like, this doesn't seem like the biggest problem of your audience, or the most easy to visualize or storytell behind. So I was like, well, let's go see what ChatGPT says, and then let's find a different problem and focus on that pain point.
You're right.
And we did, and we found like a much better pain point. So it was like they were focusing on like. It was like a beard product, and it was like kissing your significant other, like, and it's being prickly for them. And I was like, okay, like that's a small.
Well,
problem.
also like you're getting a kiss, so how bad is it really?
It's bad if they don't like the kiss. If they don't like the kiss, it's bad. But like that was like the pain point they were going after. I was like, that's how believable, how relatable is that? A little. And then we found this other one. It was like patchiness, like beard patchiness, which is like something that this product solved, and that's something that like way more guys relatably have that problem and want to solve that problem, and this product solves that problem or fixes that, helps that problem. So I was like, let's dig into that, because we can show that, we can talk about that. There are a lot of emotions about that. There's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of just negative feelings around that. So many guys I know, like I talk to them, I'm like, oh, why don't you grow a beard like this? And they're like, I can't. And I'm like, you can, but like, then they want to. So I think like just finding that insecurity that I can tug on, I sound terrible doing that. Like I really hate that, but like that is a really easy way to get in and make someone feel something really quickly.
Yeah. And I actually had this conversation with 2 founders yesterday, because I told them, I was like, you need to highlight your problems more. You need to twist that knife more and further. And they got immediately anxious when I said twist the knife. Because they feel like it's icky to sell, or it's it's exploiting people's pain points. But if you were creating a product
that depends on what it is, by the way. There's some things where I'm like, we really shouldn't. Do this.
There is absolutely a line. But I also think that if you see this problem popping up again and again and again in your reviews, and it's something that your customers are echoing to you, and you're using their words, you're actually doing someone a disservice by not highlighting this more and not diving into it more, just because of some arbitrary like point of view of, oh, I want to sell, but I don't want to sell that hard. Like,
I think the thing you said there that's really helpful for selling that is if it's from a real,
you have to use their words.
If you can do that and find that. Another thing you can do with ChatGPT is like extract a huge list of reviews and then ask for it to find.
I asked it to find golden nuggets, and it is scarily accurate.
Yeah, of course.
When I'm doing my process, I do like customer review mining. I still do it quite manually. I'm using ChatGPT a lot more. But what I'll do is I'll put all of the reviews into ChatGPT, ask it to find the pain points. They'll list it out. I'll ask it to find all the transformations, and it'll list it out. Nice. I'll also ask it to find failed attempts. Because that's like another way to sort of twist that knife more. And then the golden nuggets one, even just using that phrase, it finds the good ones.
That's funny. I never thought to do that. I like that. I'm going to steal that for sure and not give you credit.
Yeah, it's in the course.
Okay.
So.
Oh, shoot, did I miss that? Maybe I did hear you say that. Uh-oh. But yeah, no, that makes so much sense. Like there's so much in there that you can just do. The thing I do, and I think you were saying this, but like I ask it to find past tense I statements.
Okay.
I was, I had.
Yeah.
And that's what I want. Because I want to be able to just find that and extract that, both for me, like emotionally, to understand the problem and empathize more, but also to literally just copy and paste that as copy.
Yeah.
By the way, this is the first time I think I mentioned the word empathy, and like that's all of Make Ugly Ads is based on is empathy for deep empathy for the viewer, the consumer, rather than focusing on the brand.
So would you say, like digging into that a little more, would you say that when creating ugly ads, you want to dive a little bit more into the customer?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
It's that's it. That's it. Actually,
like, should you create a Post-it note ad that like explains the problem essentially? Like,
you actually just triggered me for a second because it's not the customer. It's a really dangerous. I get caught up in this, like, and we can move on from it, but like, it is the customer a little bit.
Yeah.
But if you over focus on just your existing customers, then you are failing to find ways to grow to other customers and other potential audiences. So there's like a chicken and egg there where I see this sometimes where people like do post-purchase survey, whatever, and they'll be like, oh, you know, our all of our customers like love golf or something like that. And I mean, this is like AT&T, right? Like AT&T, their small business division has a high propensity for golf. I mean, you could argue it's because, you know, they're business owners and a lot of them play golf, or you could argue it's that they've been promoting golf tournaments for 40 years or something like that. Like, it's hard to know which is which, but you have the data that says it's this. So it perpetuates doing this more. I try and look at the data and think like, what's missing? I try and think of like, what do my customers want? Okay, great. But now like, how do I get more customers who don't look like my existing customers? And that's a much bigger challenge.
Like how to be more scalable, essentially.
Yeah, and it's a scary challenge from a data perspective because it's stuff you literally are trying to do without data. It's stuff that when you try it, your costs are going to be worse because the system, and this is getting to the technical media buying, the system is used to your existing customers type, right? If your product is typically great for like women 35 and up, starting to run ads that work for men 18 to 34, like there's going to be some friction there. The system's going to not be able to allocate budget to those users. And it's going to take a while for it to like start to click and start to make sense.
I think we even just see this in general when brands start using UGC after doing nothing but static graphic ads for years and years and years.
Or anything, any new creative style, really.
Yeah.
And sometimes they do suck, but sometimes it just needs to just reshape and reform and figure itself out.
Yeah, it needs to learn, essentially.
Yes, definitely. So sorry to sidetrack the question about like looking at empathizing with my customer. I'm trying to empathize with people that could be my customers.
Yeah.
Because like with ranch water, and I would say the same thing for rotten, it's like, okay, there's obviously people that just like know what ranch water is and like it. But a lot of people don't know that that's a beverage. One, they don't know that now it's a canned beverage. And like, it's a hard seltzer. So there's a lot of people who just like wouldn't even drink that. So like, if you think about just like all of the circles of like, okay, ranch water lovers, hard seltzer lovers, you know, just people that drink in general and people that don't drink, like it keeps getting further and further away. So you have to make messaging to apply to those different groups. Like, are we going to make messaging that applies to people that don't drink? No, like that's bad. Right. But if I can make messaging that can work for someone who is a craft beer drinker, right? Which you wouldn't think, oh, someone who drinks craft beer, like I'm a big craft beer nerd. You wouldn't think you could sell a hard seltzer to a craft beer drinker, or to a Coors Light drinker, or whatever it is. But if you think that you can't do that, then you'll never do it, right? You'll never ever make ads for it. So instead, I like that challenge, and I'm like, if I can make an ad that can change those people's minds, that ad will also fundamentally work and make sense for those people.
For the White Claw drinkers,
yes, exactly, and then also for the ranch water drinkers as well. It's going to make sense for all of them. So that's what we're trying to do also with Rotten is like, okay, obviously there's people that are right away gummy worm lovers. Like that's easy. We can check that off. Like no problem. Right. There's also people that are even smaller than that, like gummy worm lovers who love this branding aesthetic, like not nostalgic. Like they're fired up. People are just fired up for it. Great. That's easy. That's a slam dunk. I don't care about that. I want to go after people that like aren't, you know, buying trolley every day or aren't, you know, going to buy candy. I want them to try this because if I can give people more reason to try that and buy that, then anything I can make for that should also work very well for those people who are closer. Yeah. So that's how I look at these things, but I don't know why I have that perspective, but it certainly is because
Well, you've worked on brands that have scaled, and you've
Yeah.
seen how you have to adapt the messaging for scaling.
Yeah.
It's not just about finding new. In some ways, it's about finding new pockets or
Yeah.
new markets. Or we realized that teachers were buying, so now
Mm-hmm.
we want to expand to daycare people or whatever, parents, etc.
Yeah.
But if you can actually start getting that more scalable messaging from
Mm-hmm.
the beginning, it's going to be your costs are going to be lower, and
Yeah.
you're going to be able to scale up a lot quicker and easier.
Well, the cost of being lower is the hard part. Just
Yeah.
because it is like you're being less relevant to your
Mm-hmm.
immediate product. So it's actually costs might get worse in some ways, but you should be making it more scalable. It's really hard to
It's
just say
nuanced.
that.
Yeah.
It's really nuanced.
So I've been asked this several times, and I think it's really interesting for you working on Rotten right now.
Mm-hmm.
But a common question that I get when working with CPG brands or even like food and beverage is, okay, what problems do my consumers have when thinking about a product like Rotten? Or you're
man.
talking about tapping into empathy as well. How would you guide like a creative strategist to think about pain points, problems, and transformation when thinking about gummy worms?
Yeah. I mean, like with ranch water, there isn't a problem really, right? Like, and with Rotten, there isn't really like a problem.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the problem is like we're making the problem. Like you're not cool if you don't have these gummies like available and give them to your friends. Like you're just not cool. You're not punk enough. You're not like, you don't know what's cool if you don't have this. Like, so, with ranch water, we started to we read a lot of comments.
Yeah.
Whether once you have a brand going and you get a lot of comments, read them, especially the negative ones, hide them, but read them. Because we found a lot of men were commenting on these ads, really homophobic shit. Like it was bad. Yeah. Really insecure men who were
upset about seltzer, like hard
Yeah,
seltzer.
yeah.
That's wild.
Yeah. People were triggered by it.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. So I was like, what? It's like, what are we doing here? So I went after those people. I set that as my goal, both from a personal vendetta, but also because I was like, those people should be buying and drinking this beverage proudly. But they were like, oh, I'm a Coors Light till I die or whatever it is.
Oh,
so
Lord.
So what I started doing was making content that was about manliness and about about how real men don't care what other people think about what they drink or something like that.
And real men don't make nasty comments on the internet, just for what it's worth.
I know, it was so I was trying to Uno reverse card those people a little bit and just kind of almost set a trap for them, an insecurity trap where they're like, wait a second, hold on. I think that I would be girly if I drink a hard seltzer, but wait a second. This ad is telling me that if I don't drink this product, then I'm insecure about my manliness. So now, what do I do? So I don't know if that actually worked. There's no way to know. But that's the kind of thing I'm trying to just create that story, create that thing, and reduce the friction, reduce the conflict, the no. Any reason why someone's trying to say no, I don't want to buy that. That's what I'm going after.
Yeah. Because consumers and users on social media, it's always a no at first. No one gets online, and at least most people don't.
Yeah.
With the idea that they're, hey, we're going to buy something.
Actually,
today.
hilariously, the thing that is so easy is when it is just there's a bunch of people that are just like, oh yes, I've been wanting this my whole life.
Yeah.
Literally, ranch water was for a lot of people just oh my god, I've wanted this.
Right. Yeah.
Thank God this exists. Rotten is going to be the same thing. There are absolutely people who are like, oh my god, where's this been my whole life? I want this.
You disrupted the gummy worm.
But that's the easy stuff, and that's effectively just retargeting and super low cost and. When you see those costs and that efficiency, it's not real.
Yeah.
You're capturing existing demand, existing intent, and that's easy. That's not really that's not worth. If you really want to grow a business and scale it and whatever, you need to capture and create more intent. You have to capture people who have no idea what you're selling or why, and make them want it more. So
I think a lot of people just actually use retargeting messaging in what is essentially prospecting too.
Oh my God.
Or they're going for the awareness level where they're either already aware of their problem or their solution, and they're just trying to convince them of what's best. That's essentially what an us versus them ad is, right? It's someone who's already kind of sold on the solution, but they're in between potentially one versus the
That's
other.
a great point. Yeah, it comes down to like, are people problem aware? Are they
Yeah.
solution aware? Are they brand aware? Product aware? Right. But some of those, it really can vary. And oh man, there's so much to that. Like those can work really well for capturing something new. Like we could be doing like, yeah, we could do trolley versus rotten, right? And we probably will do those.
You could do
ads.
trolley versus rotten, but you could also do trolley versus like other, like just like the other unknown snack.
I mean, rotten versus the other.
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
We can do that. We can do like rotten. Well, we can also, because of the branding, we'll probably do like rotten versus like, eating boogers or something stupid like that, because we're just gonna do wacky stuff.
Yeah.
But like, it is about, it's targeting with your creative. So if you're only making a thing that's like trolley versus this, then the only people that are gonna be interested are people that are familiar with trolley already, which is for us probably good and relevant.
Especially for a new brand. I see a lot of brands when they get their first creative success on a new ad account, it's often an us versus them ad.
Yeah. And it's an easy way in, because you're already tapping the people that already have the intent, already have the understanding of the problem. But that can be a trap, because you're making something that like, you're, again, going back to what we were saying a second ago, like it's only something that some people who have this awareness of this problem will go after. So you're not really growing the category.
Yeah.
And
because one of the most common things that I get asked, and I know you get asked this too, is, oh, I was able to scale to 1,000, 2,000, 6,000 a day. And there's always a point where they feel like if they move beyond that, they can't tap out from that anymore.
Yeah.
And potentially it could be, the reason why could be what you're saying, because they are only had used messaging that was communicating to people that knew their problem / solution. And they haven't really looked at their messaging and gone beyond thinking about how they can convert people that need a little bit more convincing.
You're totally right. And like, this is what we're about to face with Rotten, surely, is like, we'll launch at whatever spend level, and it's immediately, I'm assuming, probably going to be pretty efficient, like right off the bat, because we're just going to be scooping off the demand that is already there, the intent that's already there. And then what would happen normally is like, we'll see that cost per acquisition and be like, all right, we're going to make some money here.
Yeah.
But in reality, the more you push that, like anytime you increase spend, your costs are going to go up always. But like, especially when you have that like shell you have to break out of to get out of the highest intent users, your costs are going to go up. So don't look at it as that your costs are actually like going to go up. Just look at it as your costs are artificially low when you're
That's a
getting
great way to
started.
look at it, because you're not actually,
You're not doing that
you're not
much.
scaling and you're not convincing people.
Yeah,
So
you're not convincing people is right. You're just just getting it in front of them, which is sometimes just enough for a lot of these things. You're just capitalizing on the existing demand, which, by the way, like we could probably make plenty of money for Rotten just doing that. There's probably enough just existing demand.
Gummy worms were my favorite growing up. Yeah, they absolutely were.
They were not mine. I'm more of a fruit snack guy, which is why, hilariously, like these to me taste like the fruit snacks that I loved. So I'm super into it. But yeah, like I'm eager to see how it works out and what we're gonna have to do. We have so much to do in terms of like ad creative, offer, and like first purchase, whatever. I'm so eager to see what our repeat purchase rate is, because the product is good.
Yeah.
But like also, I don't know how much people are consuming candy. Well, and
especially adults. Like I feel like too, at the point of where I'm at in my life, I'm like, I have enough problems and I'm trying to avoid sugar. So like something like
60%
this.
less sugar.
But something like this, I'm like, maybe for a special event, maybe for a birthday, maybe as like a funny gift.
Yeah.
Like those kind of things would make sense.
These do make a great gift.
Yeah.
Well, what's funny is in the launch video, by the way, one of the lines in it is 60% less sugar, so your guts don't turn into goo. And I just love that.
Yeah.
And like I saw someone internally use that in a DM to someone who was like, "No, I'm scared of free candy," and they were like, "But." The person who responded from our end was like, "But it won't turn your guts to goo," or something.
Oh gosh, that's so
like,
fine.
that's great.
I'm really excited to see how like that brand voice develops and like answering people in the comments and
Oh
stuff.
boy,
We've
me
worked
too.
with some brands who are great at that, like the Perfect Gene.
Perfect Gene, yeah.
So I'm really excited
Shout out to
right?
Perfect Gene,
Yeah.
These right now.
So what I'd like to do now is I'd actually like you to show show some of the ugly ads or show some formats that you think some people here could replicate or take inspiration from.
Sure.
Like if you were going to give someone like, okay, these are 5 ugly ads that you should test. What would be like your 5 like format examples?
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be on this, but obviously, like I want to just do Post-it notes.
Yes, you are the OG Post-it note maker.
And
although some people think it was me because I did my first video about it in like 2021.
Because you didn't give me credit for it in that video. To this day, like I want the record to show that I inspired that.
Wait, and I will say too, I got inspiration from the Cove ad that they made like in 2020. Did you make that?
I don't know.
I
don't think so. But we were working with Cove.
You were working with Cove because they were the brand that owned Keeps as well.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, it's not like that big of a secret, so it's not like that big of a deal. But I mean, I was definitely barking at you to do it more, and then
I went and made a video about it.
Yeah, at Thesis, and like respect, good on you. So let the record show now that it was from me. But like again, it's not like I developed that. It's just like maybe you and I both popularized it, and Ash from Obvi helped popularize it. So, and like that's something we're gonna do for Rotten is just like, it's just a cheap. I mean, it's completely free. Okay, excuse me, it's not free.
You have to buy Post-its.
Buy a Sharpie. Preferably a Sharpie. It doesn't have to be a Sharpie. Use some other brand. Use a jelly pen if you want. I don't know. I don't care. But probably a Sharpie and just write relevant things that like your audience would be interested to see. And like I'm going to do one that says like, parents hate this or parents love this. Both. Yeah. Why not do both? Like those are 2 different ads and see which one does better. So I'm going to do like won't turn your guts into goo.
Yeah.
Like who cares? And I'm going to I'll try and be a little thoughtful about the setting for it. Like try and put it in not going to over the top go for it, but like I might put it like on a yellow or green surface. But I don't know. Try to figure out like what would be an organic, believable thing. Actually, I want to do it in front of a white van, like I said before.
Do it in front of a white van. Yeah. Also do it at like a picnic setting or someone like, it's the kind of gummy worms you'd take out on a date.
I think we're trying to, at first, I think we all want to do more aggressive, stylized vibes.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to go harder first. Let me find, actually, here's a Post-it. I have a Post-it note board.
Ooh,
do you not have one?
Gold. I have a handwriting one. So I've even veered from, just calling it Post-it note ads and have just gone to, wait, did you make that stop using tire shine one?
I didn't. But
because I have that as an ad for you to review.
That's my client.
Oh, I think okay, that's funny. That's really I bet funny. Some of them are going to be your clients.
That's really funny. Yeah, those are my boys at Exoforma. A huge shout out to them. Actually, we can just talk about them as a case study. I could do a whole hour talking about them. They brought me in to consult for a few months, and like literally as soon as we started working with them, these guys are unbelievable. I wonder if they're okay with me talking about their story, but I'm only going to say nice things. Like. These guys would meet with me and then literally go out to the parking lot and shoot like right away.
A+ client.
I mean, they literally took my notes and did that. And like that ad slaps, dude. Like I probably shouldn't tell you that, but like that ad slaps. And like they basically just made a great hook from it. And we'll talk about that hook because that hook is killer for a lot of reasons. We'll get into that later. But like just they tried a bunch of different Post-it notes, tried them in different settings on the car. And it's not a product that has anything to do with revving the engine, but they put it on the dashboard there and on the tack and
which is it's a good placement, and it's also just like a little bit unusual. It's in the car,
but it's in the car. And it's a car product they're selling, and you quickly get that connection. And like it's a simple phrase: stop using tire shine. So like if you are using tire shine, you're like, whoa, what am I doing wrong? But if you're not, you'd still be like, wait a second, why not?
Yeah.
Like whoa. So, but it's still it only is relevant to you if you have a car. It only is relevant to you if you have a car you probably care about. So like, and then a lot of this hinges on what comes after that anyway. Yeah. But it was really good. To see them do this, and just like that was one of the first ideas I think we came up with.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
High hook rates on that because that's massive. Like massive.
Yeah, really, really good.
Excellent.
And again, it's not necessarily like that they need massive hook rates. It's about the relevance, like
and getting the right
they're getting
user
a lot
to stop.
of the right people to stop.
Like if I would see something like that in my regular, like my regular scrolling, useless. I don't even have a driver's license. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm
I have
like,
a car.
what is this?
I have a car, but I definitely don't care about my tire shine.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit, but so yeah, there's that one. This one is one of mine. That is my handwriting on the your nuts are in this box. And
a little
then,
bit of taboo advertising
yeah,
potentially.
well, actually, yeah, a little bit. And I like what actually after my time there, they
iterated on
They
it.
edited it. They just photoshopped it, and like it's. By the way, you can totally get that the vibe is different, and that it's like not handwritten in this one, but it still works. But it says your nuts have dropped. I think your nuts are in this box is still way better. I don't know why they even did that. But like, yeah, there's so many of these. So again, that's where I'd start if you're trying to get into ugly ads. Like, this isn't the only way to make ugly ads. This is, by the way, really bad. These are really bad. This is like post-it notes on a computer screen, on a photo, on a computer screen.
Dear.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really ugly.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, it is. I did those. And like, that was just, it didn't work that well, but I would try it again. You know, I don't know if it's because of the copy that's on it, which isn't that great.
I also think if they zoomed out a little more and maybe showed the computer, that could. I have a few.
That's a great point.
I have a few
It'd be more
examples
authentic,
that showed that, because when I see this, I'm a little disoriented around like, oh,
What
is
is
this?
Yeah.
Did they want you to think it was actually on the
car?
car? Because that would be cool.
Yeah.
But it's like disorienting in the wrong way.
Yeah, I agree with you. And there's just, look, it's
kind of like that primer example, right? Like that, you can see it's on the computer.
Yes, actually a great point, and I do love that. But like, like this was about me trying and failing. Like, I'm super open to failure. And
what's great is you can fail on these.
Yeah,
over and over and over again.
There's no cost to it. Except for the cost of running the ads, but like, you don't have to spend that much to know if this is in the ballpark or not.
These noteworthy ads are wild, though. That's a lot of text. And actually, I have a few examples that show this checkmark bullet point style of ads, and I want your take on that. Like, to me, that almost seems like people trying to turn the Post-it note style ad into something it's really not quite.
Yeah.
Because it's not hooking people, or maybe it is potentially for the right audience. But when I see that, I'm like, okay, you're trying to make a bullet point style of ad using a Post-it note, and it's a little bit, for me, it's too much to ask for me to read all of that in that format.
It doesn't matter. Like,
it doesn't matter what I think.
It doesn't. No, you're just no. It's like you can do a 5-word, 6-word Post-it note, right, or a line of copy in any other format, or you can have a long story on there, and I don't have a problem with it. I think it's maybe harder to do and harder to get right, but if you write something that gives people the right vibes and the right story and the right, if you can make people emotionally connect, you could do a whole friggin' 10 paragraphs of Post-it notes.
I will say something that I had done with several brands too when using the Post-it note strategy is actually just taking our best performing UGC ad and then taking that entire script, putting it on different Post-it notes, and then having someone do a voiceover for it. That's a format using this strategy that I've used again and again. Or some people say Post-it notes aren't a strategy.
It's not. Fair enough. It's not a strategy. It's just it's an aesthetic. It's a vibe.
Yeah.
It's a storytelling device.
Yes, yeah.
And the reason why I want to do it with Rotten is just a kickstart. It's just to like get ideas, literally handwrite them out there, see what messaging can work, low cost, low effort. Literally just like it's to me it's even easier than like doing it in like a photo editing software, because I can just handwrite it, slap it, take a picture of it, and then move on, try something else, and like run a bunch of those, see which messaging works well, and then take that messaging, and then I can double click into that from a copy perspective, double click into that from a messaging perspective on other styles. Right. And that's what we want to be able to do. So that's one, right? Post-it notes. And then going back to the other stuff. I mean, I hate again blowing up this style more, but whatever. The puberty brand publication style, which PUBITY. Where? I don't know if I have one in here.
I thought I saw one just a little bit down.
Oh, there. These.
Yeah.
Where it's
like the answer to the press screenshot ad, which often gets get disapproved, or you get a cease and desist from the publication. It's like a way of showing potentially more social proof or press social proof without it actually being.
You can say that. I don't. That's not why I like this. And you're not like, that is a thing, right? That is one thing. You could make a publication thing, and that is in here as well. These work to me really well because these are some of the biggest, most viral pages on the planet on Instagram, and that's the exact style they use.
Yeah.
So like, why not? First of all, examine why does that style work well? What have they done? Because they're monetized, so they're trying to make stuff that is viral, that is or easy to for people to want to consume. So why not recreate that yourself? And then also like, look at how they tell the story. Look at how they do it visually and with text, and try to like lean into that. So, you know, it's just literally that white bar, and the photo like fades from the full color photo down, fades to black on the bottom with the white text over it. Super simple, very easy to understand. And a lot of them have this main photo with a like highlight photo in a circle above it, whether that's like a zoom in or it's a detail photo, or it's like showing the problem in one and the solution in the other, or vice versa. And there's just a lot of ways you can use this to test copy and to test talking about problems in that way, as if it's news.
Yeah.
Right. It's just in this news aesthetic, and you're not like recreating like TV news, because that's something people aren't really watching on social.
Yeah.
Right? You're not watching your like nightly news clips on Instagram. Like, you're just not. If you were a lot, and sometimes there are ways, like there are weird news things like Florida man news things that do get shared on Instagram. So that is a style that can also work.
And the news aesthetic does often, I found, work for like 55, 65 plus. So a different demographic, we would actually recreate news segments at Thesis to use for certain brands because they worked so well for that demographic.
Totally. By the way, like, you can make your own fake news. Like, you can literally hire
your real fake news.
Yeah, you can literally hire people on Fiverr or whatever to like go and make like in a news style green screen background, like reporter-ish setup, and film something for you.
Yeah. Or a podcast.
Yeah, right. We can definitely do that. We did that 2 weeks ago. But like, definitely don't go and make fake news and make it seem like it's actually like legit real. Do not do anything illegal.
There is a line to cross.
Please don't do that. But like, you can make things that vibe, you know, legally and safely. And I would definitely consider that. This is another one I like here. This is like the Twitter style, Twitter screenshot meme style. You'll see this a lot on like Fuck Jerry, Instagram. Like, again, go look for some of the biggest Instagram accounts that are relevant to your audience.
And they're all like Twitter screenshots.
Yeah. Huge. Actually, going way back to before you asked like what I do for research. The other thing I do for research I forgot to shout out was like create a Instagram or TikTok account about that interest.
I do the same thing now for YouTube, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
I hadn't thought about doing that for YouTube. That makes sense, obviously.
Yeah, actually, so I'm doing Patty Galloway's Accelerator, as you know, and he has an entire method for like getting a new YouTube account and like going through and like figuring out like.
So he's stealing from me now, Patty.
He is stealing. I mean, you know, great artist.
No. I'm sure. Like, yeah, we both probably got that from the same whatever. And it was probably Mr. Beast anyway. Like,
exactly.
But yeah, no, that's really smart, and it's the same premise, right? It's just like to pursue that specific content as if you are in that. So like, I am not a nostalgia punk like candy nerd, right? But like, I'm gonna create an Instagram account to pursue that and see what stuff comes up and is fed to me, and like pay attention to that. Try and understand the vibe, understand the language that's being used, understand the aesthetics that are being used by like skateboarders, by candy lovers, by whatever it is, so I can better communicate to them.
Yeah, and also just see what pops up on your own feed to see what storylines and formats seem to be like getting the most engagement from this type of people. Exactly. It's huge, and like cutting down the amount of formats and messaging and storyline types that you feel like you need to test.
Yeah. And that's where I like to, I recommend people go focus more on organic content for inspiration for ads rather than go look at other ads from other brands.
That's kind of a hot take.
It's my best hot take is like, definitely go look at organic stuff rather than, do not look at your competitors. Just don't fucking do that. Like, please, for the love of God, like, ignore your competitors. Like, maybe look at them when you're getting started just for like some whatever, just to get a baseline try. I don't care. But like, do anything else. Because all your competitors are doing are looking at other competitors, and those competitors are looking at them.
It becomes an echo chamber
Yeah.
with inside certain industries.
Correct.
And it's really funny to see brands copying other formats after other brands
Yes.
and other messaging tactics. And at a certain point when brands often come to you and me is, oh, maybe they're spending a certain amount they want to scale. I feel like that's like always the point where brands want to talk to me personally is, oh, we want to scale beyond this amount.
Of course.
And what I always end up telling them at some point is, oh, you are in a point of iteration paralysis. You have iterated yourself to oblivion that you're not even creating like new things.
Yeah.
And this is actually a question that we had someone
That is a
ask
good
us
question.
on Twitter, which was, how do you draw the line between doing iterations on your ad creative, but
Yeah.
also doing net new big swing tests?
Yeah. I remember that question. I was excited to talk to you about it. I parallel path both. Like,
Yeah.
it really depends on what I'm seeing and what I'm feeling. But like, lately I've been more in the iteration zone, and that might be because of the stuff that I'm working on, and I might be more dialed in on some of that stuff. But the big thing I tell a lot of people now, and maybe one of the most valuable things I can say in this whole talk, is if you have something that hits, don't take it for granted. Like,
Yeah. If you have a unicorn ad or something that really
yeah,
slaps.
just whatever you can do to like, you don't have to just iterate it to death, but you can reshoot it.
You can reshoot it. You can borrow that messaging or that messaging in the hook and adapt it to another format.
Yeah.
You can, if it's a UGC ad, have another creator do the exact same script.
Take the same thing and just record a different voiceover.
Or a method that you've done recently, which
Yeah.
I've really liked, is have another creator green screen that actual ad.
yeah, green screen over it. Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is advertisers stealing from advertisers. So I don't know if that one works, but yes.
Yeah.
But like, you can even like literally go in the in CapCut. There's now a voice changer. Have you done that?
Ah, yes, yes.
You can. So it's not just like
It's not just like it reads the text. It'll literally take your voice and change your voice to something else.
You can just do that, and it creates a totally different vibe. You can take that same video and run it through a different editing style. Take that same video and like edit in like stock video clips, make it more like exaggerated, make it more over the top, make it more subtle, play different music behind it, like take away the music, like anything like that can work. I mean, some of that is iterating to death and for nothing, right? You're not really going to squeeze much more out of it by doing some of those things.
But to be fair, when I say like iteration like to death, I also like really just think of people who end up just changing out 3 seconds of the hook, keeping the same thing, just swapping out the messaging, just doing like headline tests. And like those things are important to some extent.
Yeah.
But I do think that those, like at a certain point, those
There's
do
only so
stop.
much. There's only so much.
Those
you
stop
can do.
being as effective as they could be.
Yeah, there's a limit to how much you can like get out of that.
Yeah.
The question I want to ask, anyone in that situation is like, okay, how do we make this more broadly relatable? How do we make this relatable to a different audience?
Yeah.
Same messaging, same thing. Like, let's assume this messaging works, or this pacing works, or this like the overall angle works,
Yeah.
right? How do we make this relevant to other people? So do we get a different looking talent to say the same thing? Do we get someone to come in and do it faster? Do we get someone to come in and do it slower? Do we get someone to like, there's just tons of different ways that we can make that work for more audiences and different audiences and bigger audiences. And that's what I try and think about. And some of that's scary and some of that's difficult because again, you're not always going to have the immediate ad data to support that.
Yeah.
Your ad data might not immediately be like, oh yeah, that's a winner. It might take a while for it to adjust and shift. So that's what I see so many people so scared of. And especially to answer one of the other questions that we got about cost caps, using cost caps is going to keep you in that really narrow area of just the people that already have the most intent. And it's going to prevent you from scaling over time as efficiently as maybe you could otherwise. I understand anyone's going to like say, well, yeah, but it's also going to keep you from losing money. If you're really that like tight on money that you're like, I just don't think you're really bound to scale. And I think you're just holding yourself back.
I've talked about this too with a number of people. I think that at a certain point, you have to choose between absolute efficiency
Yeah.
and getting learnings.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yeah. Which is ultimately why we have a really similar way of doing creative testing, because we do want to prioritize getting learnings. Because what I've seen a lot of brands do that go the dynamic creative testing CBO route is, and I hear this all the time, Dara, the new ad tests aren't getting enough spend and you end up not learning because you have one or two hero ads that dominate the spend. And, over the last few weeks of you making this new creative, you don't actually have a data read on any of the other tests that you have. So
but
then
they'll tell you that's the point, is like, oh, the ads didn't do well, so they didn't get spend. So we saved
but then
you money.
when those ads die, are you just shit out of luck, or could you have gotten some learnings?
Right.
Or even possibly tapped into a new market that maybe would have been a little less efficient in the beginning, but could have proved to be more efficient over time.
Totally. Yeah, I that's my whole problem with this, and I try not to like really even engage with the like cost cap people anymore. I'll still engage with people that like test in CBO, because like that's not that dumb. Like it's
there are some brands that I work with them on that, and they do that, and that's fine.
It's totally fine, especially if you're setting minimums. So you are forcing some budget, which again, like someone who I'm usually the guy that's like, yeah, trust the system, but like also like we have to be humans and learn and understand creative and figure stuff out. So we have to do some correction, some forcing, so that we can get that learning of why is the system saying this sucks? Why is the system not wanting to spend on this? Oh, because people aren't paying attention. Oh, because it's not getting people to click. Oh, because like whatever it is. And like maybe none of my analysis is right. Maybe and that's fine. I might have a totally wrong analysis about it, but at least I can have some analysis on it. A lot of these people think it's just random. Like all the cost cap people, they're like, oh, it's just what the creative that works. It's just random. And there is some randomness. If you are going to throw 1,000 ads at the wall, like, a few are going to stick, because you're bound to have just gotten some creators who know how to make good ads because they do have experience, or some that are just lucky, or some that are just really fucking attractive.
Yeah, because sometimes it's an unknown variable, right? And we can boil it all down. But at the end of the day, a human does have to make the subjective decision on what it is.
Yeah.
Which is what I find a lot of people struggle with creative strategy and analyzing their creatives, because they want some complicated formula that's like, oh, it's the headline that worked, it's the messaging that worked. But at the end of the day, that's why I always prioritize everything I do with research, because I'm in a lot better situation to look at the creative and be like, okay, based on what I know about that consumer, what is it that is attracting them? It could be the creator.
Yeah, it could be.
It could be the creator. It could be the messaging.
Right.
It could be the editing style, the storyline, the pacing. But if you don't know your customer in the first place, or if you don't know the ecosystem in which your customer has problems, what their lifestyle is like, you're not going to be able to determine.
And by the way, you said so many things there that are really important. One of them was pacing. And like, it's so hard to isolate any of these items in a test, because like, especially with video, right? It's like, okay, you can talk about what's in what's the like text overlay in the first few seconds. That's a component. You can talk about what's the visual in the first few seconds. That's a component. You can talk about like what is being said. And then if you go reshoot that and you say the same things, have the same text overlay, but someone says it more rapidly, maybe that'll do better. If someone says it more rapidly, but it's less relatable, or they say it in a way that is really boring, or if they say it staring directly into the camera, or they say it, while like looking all over the place, like, there's all these infinite variables that we can't possibly control exactly for, that can get in there and mess stuff up. And so many people are like, oh, yeah, that failed. Let's never do that again. And it'll be like, let's never say that line again. But maybe that line was great, but it was said poorly, or said too quickly, or said too slowly. And
I see that a lot with like formats in general. I feel like when people are just getting started off, a lot of times they'll be like, oh, features point out ads don't work for me.
Right.
Or us versus them don't work for me. Or UGC doesn't work for me. And I'll look at their UGC and I'll be like, you did one test that had 4 ads with not a very talented
because
creator.
You thought it was going to be bad in the first place.
Yeah.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like you didn't want it. You didn't want to make UGCs. You didn't make good UGCs.
Yeah.
So it's going to fail.
So what I'd like to do next
Yeah.
is I gathered some ugly ads.
Let's
I
do
bet
it.
you were a creator of some of
I
these
hope
or helped
so.
advise on some of these. So I want to show you some.
Okay, cool.
And I want you to roast them.
Wow.
With my son going off to college, I'm already anticipating the questions. What does this light mean? Is the sound okay? My son knows nothing about cars.
That's pretty good.
He could barely
Me
figure out
either.
how to fill the windshield wiper fluid. I truly don't know how I expect him to survive in the world. But at least now, his car maintenance is covered. This is Fix, an OBD2 port scanner that connects to an app on his phone.
Wow.
Now every time the check engine light goes on,
And that
the
product
Fix
intro
app
didn't
will
come to
tell
like
you
second
exactly
20.
what's wrong in plain
Right.
English, just like
Right,
I would
right.
if you were home. The Fix app also tells him whether the car is safe to drive or not, which is super helpful before his long trips home.
Wow.
I got the premium version of the app, so he knows when to change the oil, tires.
Fantastic.
and Fix is going to provide comfort to me and my wife while he's away. Check out Fix.
Okay, fantastic ad. Can you just play the first like 3 seconds again, just real quick?
Yeah.
So just, I don't like that it's showing grass, but it said check engine, so it's targeting well.
I'm already anticipating.
But it shows, okay, talking about setting, look at where he's shooting that selfie. Go back for a second, look at just where he's shooting that selfie. Look where he is.
Right in the garage.
In the garage. I mean, that's brilliant. With 2 cars in the background.
Yeah.
So like, you know, when you talk about targeting with your creative, like it's targeting with your creative. I didn't like, again, I was saying I didn't like the grass. I would have rather that been somewhere else or displayed some other way. I don't know what it was spraying.
Yeah.
But it still didn't matter because check engine is still relatable enough. I wish there was some other way to display that. But so all of this is great. The one thing I don't like about this is it's like too specific of a story. Like with my son going off to college.
Yeah.
It's like such a narrow, that's such a small slice of the entire addressable market. So I think there might be a lot of people that might be like, oh, that's not me. Goodbye.
Yeah.
On the other hand, it is an easy to understand story. So
Yeah.
if people are going to keep paying attention through it, it doesn't really matter that the son's going to college. It doesn't really matter about that. It's just about a dad caring about someone in their life.
Right. Like
and
I
their
would
car.
encourage them actually to like take a step back
Yeah.
and like forget about the son going to
Yes.
college and just talk about I worry about my son
Yeah,
or my
exactly.
daughter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. That's how you just make that a little broader.
Mhm.
And literally that's just a question of like reshooting this second hook.
Yeah.
Right? Like and finding other ways to get in there. Like cuz it could be about me. It could be about like I have this car, it just could be for anyone. Like so there's a lot of ways to do it. But again, I think it is a believable, relatable thing, but you could make it more broadly relatable, more broadly relevant to more
Yeah.
users, I think.
Ugly ads approved?
Oh, it's fantastic.
Wow. He came out with a good one.
That's lovely. I mean, and look at the caption style too, by the way.
Super organic.
Yeah, it's just the organic caption style.
Yeah.
So it's not branded. It doesn't really matter in this ad because nobody's ready for the brand yet. Like nobody cares about this brand, so why even bother?
Yeah.
They start to see the product in it, and that's what really matters. The product is branded. They can click the ad. They'll see the brand there more. They'll learn about the brand more. But at this point, nobody cares about the branding, so why bother with it? So it's really good.
Excellent
Yeah,
first
I want to know who made
ad.
that.
Right?
Shake their hand for sure.
Ad number 2. Noon
Also-
Brew.
Also not mine, but friends.
I'm a
of,
fan of Andrews.
friends of
yeah.
friends of friends.
Yeah.
Um,
Now, this is something I've seen a number of brands do.
Yeah.
Now, they'll try doing this post-it note style ad,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they're using 3 to convey this story.
yeah. I mean, I'm not. I mean, is that showing a different? Are those showing competitors' products or no? Those are their products, right?
Those are their products.
Yeah. Then I don't know. It seems like almost like you're pairing the post-it notes with those products. So I don't think that's good. I hate that. It's just confusing to me. I kind of almost wish it was like the competitors' products blurred out to show like that has the jitters, that has the sleepless nights, and
Yeah.
this is free honey.
Yeah.
So I don't like this at all. I like it from an aesthetic standpoint. I kind of wish it was uglier. I don't.
It's been running for 77 days. Those can be wrong.
Yeah, it
but
could be. It also could be retargeting.
but also it has a great value prop, right? It's like free honey,
Yeah.
which like actually was sort of my problem with this ad initially is pain point, free honey.
Yeah. Great call out and save $26.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it just feels like to me this is super retargeting and like that's fine. I just nothing we've talked about today like is about retargeting. I don't care about like, it's not that I don't care about retargeting. I get so little joy or value working on retargeting ads as a concept, and I don't really do a lot of manual retargeting or anymore anyway.
Yeah.
I just try and make great messaging that makes sense for prospecting, and then thusly also still works for
Yeah, I agree.
retargeting.
I don't make ad creative tests specific to retargeting.
Oh gosh.
There are some times that I will identify a test that's went out and I'll be
Yeah.
like, you know what? In retrospect, it didn't hit on like the broad cold prospecting audience.
Right.
Let's drip it into retargeting.
Yeah.
But that is actually super few and far between.
Yeah, and also that's the dangerous thing. And I want to going way back to earlier in our conversation, like that's the thing that a lot of marketers fall into is they're making ads that actually work really well and perform really well for their warm audiences. And when
Yeah.
you're using these hybrid audiences now, pretty much everyone is like we talk to is like doing broad audiences with no exclusions or minimal exclusions. And like, depending on how or what you're excluding, the ads that you make that are most relevant to your warm users are going to look great. But that doesn't mean that they're scalable, and it doesn't mean that they are fundamentally what works to bring people into your brand. They're just the things that are taking credit for the conversions.
Yeah.
And that can also be a weird attribution problem. You might just have a really clickable ad rather than an ad that actually people even care about.
Oh, goodness.
So there's a
Right.
whole huge layer. Stitch this clip I just said into earlier when we
Right.
were talking about this earlier, because that's a huge thing that people are getting
Yeah.
wrong. And like, I can say that and I can't prove that.
Right.
But like, people think I'm crazy when I'm telling them like,
He is crazy.
thank you. I am crazy, but regardless of that, like, people think that I'm wrong, which I'm not about this. That there are ads that people are running that look and like they're performing well because their costs are low or whatever it is. But in reality, they're just scooping up the easiest conversions, easiest purchasers from the people already most likely to buy. They're the least incremental ads, and they're the most just at scooping up nothing. So it's not helping you, except it's helping you look better.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let's look at this next
Yeah.
one. So this is a lead generation client, I believe. So some of the people that are in the course and also on Instagram stories asked that I did more B2B
Yeah.
or service-based
They love it.
businesses. So let's take a look at this one.
B2B should be making ugly ads too, for sure.
Yes.
It's terrible hook. Sorry, go back. Awful, absolutely terrible.
Did you know that this is an awful hook?
I mean,
it goes quick, but I don't think it's the best way to.
look, it creates curiosity, sure, I guess. But like, what are we? I mean, this isn't targeting anyone. Unless,
Like, we don't know the target
Start with
demographic yet. Okay, so now it's like, okay, make money simple again. And it's free.
okay, yeah, I mean, go back. Like, perfectly fine. Just start it from, not from there. Start the ad right there. 22,000, right, downloaded this book. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know what that little chicky icon is on the top there. I think that's really a waste of space and
This is
branding
the property council, I believe. So, put a house there or something. I don't know.
yeah, maybe. Yeah, good point. Yeah, but like this book about what? Like,
It's about like investing in property as a way
Sure.
to make like passive or.
but I mean,
yeah.
just give me that more. Give me in the first post-it or in the second post-it or whatever it is. Like, give me more about that.
Yeah.
Did you know? I mean, like, it's just no one cares about this. No one cares about this, and so yeah, you'll maybe get some curiosity, and maybe you'll get like a better hook rate because people are going to stick around, but they're going to fall off and not give a shit.
Yeah.
So
This one ran technically for 329 days, but
Cool.
yeah,
yeah, but look, that maybe it's the best ad ever. I don't know, and I can be
we
wrong
could
about
be
these
wrong.
things.
We could be
But
wrong.
also, it's all depends on scale. Like that might have run and been amazing for that period. That might have just run in the background, like as a retargeting ad, getting a nickel a day. That might have, who knows? You don't know how anyone else is running their accounts. That might just be the one ad they made and then just like walked away.
Yeah.
There's like a deodorant brand I like admire, and I was like, they haven't put a new ad live in 6 months. Like, I don't even know what they're doing. I don't even know if they're alive. Like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, but like, you just don't know if what it is or why or how.
You don't know.
Yeah.
You never know. Okay. Next up, Array. A
Um,
D2C darling.
Is it? I don't know this brand.
Yeah, pretty big brand actually.
What is? I don't even. Okay, don't even say it. Take me, okay, works in under an hour, feels good after eating gluten. I hate this. This tells me nothing. I am angry. As soon as you put this on the screen, I didn't like it because I don't know what the product is. I don't care. I have no reason to like. I don't care about the setting. I don't care. I actually like that the setting is kind of crap. It's kind of ugly, but like.
So ugly setting, but
yeah.
messaging is not aligned because
take me. Oh God, like take me. What? Like, why? Well, it's like there's no reason. There's just no. I don't have any reason. It should be like ask a question. Take like, do you have this? Or like, I don't know if they could do that policy.
Or even if it's like works, because for me, I don't know what it works for.
Yeah.
So
works in under an hour is irrelevant.
Yeah. So for me here, it'd be like reduces bloating in under 1 hour.
Okay.
And that would have been.
They're probably not even allowed to say that. They're probably not.
Probably not.
I hate supplement ads anyway, or I don't know if this supplement seems like it is.
It is a supplement.
Hate it. You can do that all you want. I don't. I think they're a lot of baloney. But yeah, do better. Like, give me something more than that. Ask a question, then say, "Take me." Take me. Oh, terrible.
So, here is.
Already love it. Already love this.
All
I mean,
so this is
it's
from
just,
Oyo Skincare.
I mean, it's clearly. Can you start it over? What was it? I used to be very well. I didn't even get to read it. I read too slow. I used to be very self-conscious of my bikini. That's a 10 out of 10. I mean,
They took the course.
did they really?
Yeah.
Fuck. I used to be very self-conscious
Of my bikini line at the
Bikini line at
beach.
the beach. Wow, so relatable. I mean, not to me, but I get it also. Oh, and then she repeats it. I don't like that, but. Okay.
Which is so frustrating. Every time I go to the beach, I am paranoid my bumps would be on show. Then I saw this viral skincare routine for the bikini line on TikTok, and because I was
So this is like Truly Beauty.
Yeah.
Oh my god. It comes with this cleanser, this exfoliator, and this oil. They say you use these for 30 days, and it's supposed to get rid of pubic ingrowns, bumps, and irritation.
I mean,
It's like the natural Truly.
This is a straight ripoff of Truly Beauty, which like no shame. Good on them for doing it, but like you're just showing revealing skin. You're showing like sexy, like attractive, like my only concern would be if you're running this in an ASC, a lot of men would pay attention to it.
Yeah.
That would be my concern. There's also almost, I don't know if it's too aspirational, this view, but it's not. I think it's fine. I think all of this is really well done.
You know what's funny? When I first saw this ad, I thought it was actually this hook was all that it was at first.
I would use that photo.
Right?
I would use that. I would use that as a still. I'd use that.
Or
still.
even just like the first like 3 seconds, have that on loop, a little bit of movement. Like I've seen things like that work.
Yeah, why not? Just let people click and find out the rest, because it's enough to get people to click with intent, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to get people just to click. You want to get people to click with intent, and that as a still or as just a looping video or whatever is enough, because I used to be right. I past tense. I used to be very self-conscious. Past tense problem.
Like they probably got that from a customer review.
And people are, you'd hope so. And then people reading that assume whatever this is for is going to solve that.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Love it. I think the rest of the ad I didn't even evaluate that much because, and it might need to be improved, but the rest seemed okay. I didn't like that the hook repeated, but.
Yeah, I didn't like the hook that the hook repeated either. All right.
Yeah, this one's a better one for me because I almost worked with them, the pod company. I didn't. So I love seeing this. Shout out to them. They've been seem like they're crushing. Hope they're making a ton of money. I love this. I really wonder how well these are doing.
We saw it. We see that like Crocs, I think, was the original purveyor of this.
And
like,
just to be clear,
style.
All we know about this is that marketers loved it.
Marketers loved it. And in theory, it's been running for months.
Is it still?
Yeah. I actually checked it right before this.
Again, we don't know what that really means.
We don't know what that really means.
But we do know marketers love it.
Yeah.
And that's my concern with a lot of these is like me liking it, you liking it should be like a red alert. Like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
This probably isn't a good ad. This is probably just something that like we like.
And also the Crocs ad, like when I initially saw that, I thought, oh, okay, you're like trying to go after Gen Z. when I think of Gen Z, I'm like, are they really in a position or want to buy an ice bath? Like, to me, this seems a little bit more towards like marketed towards millennials. And sure, this could have like a nostalgia bent to it, but I'm like,
I think all of it makes sense. I think it is thumb stopping. It is weird. It is unusual. It doesn't look like an ad. Also, I mean, now it does maybe because like other people are doing it, but fundamentally, when this scrolls into frame, there's almost no one's subconscious ad blocker is going to be like, oh, this is an ad, turn this away.
It's
They're gonna be like,
Microsoft.
whoa, 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 what is this? So it does. That's it. It is thumb stopping in that way, but it's not clearly an ad.
Yeah.
So it's one of those rare ones where it's not a native style that people are used to seeing, but it also doesn't immediately trigger as an ad.
Yes.
So that one might be working really well. This one, free course menopause secrets.
So this is another one that's for more of our info product people.
Yeah. If they haven't already tried doing that, I would just switch the two.
Okay.
Menopause secrets free course.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting. I hope this is okay for me to say. I think she looks too young for this to be
Potentially. No, and I mean, I think it's really important to call out when there seems to be a misalignment between the creator and the messaging.
Yeah.
Because that's definitely something that other people are going to notice. And especially if the creator is also misaligned with who you're actually delivering to on Facebook and Instagram. It's like one of the number one things I look at is breakdown data and looking at how the spend distribution is actually going to the different age ranges.
Of course.
So, we could see something like this.
Can you repeat that? Because like that's like so like I love that you do that, and I know that you do that, and I do that. I study the breakdowns. Like I feel like that's what everyone else isn't doing. Like maybe not everyone, but like so few people when I like talk to them when they hire me to like show them and I'm like, I say, oh, let's go to the breakdowns. And like, okay, where is that? I'm like, click here. And I'm like, you should be looking at this all the time.
Yeah. I mean, at a base level, I'm always looking at the breakdown data. So organizing all the data into where the spend and purchases are pooling for ages, gender, depending on the product. Sometimes it doesn't matter.
I don't really care as much about the purchases or the whatever. I just look at the spend.
The spend is the most important because ultimately that's where Facebook is like sending your cash. Right. And if this is delivering to someone who is 30, 35 and not someone who, would actually be interested in a free course about menopause, then you're in trouble. And there's already a misalignment with your creative, with your messaging.
And I want to just double click into that for a sec. What's happening there is like Facebook's both looking at the relevance, the creative relevance. So like who's paying attention to that ad more than others. Even if it's a static image, Facebook understands that. We don't have data on that, but it'll be looking at, I assume, this, I can't prove this, but I assume it knows which ads people spend more time lingering on than others. And it uses that as a data point to know who it's more relevant to. And that doesn't necessarily mean those are the right people that click and buy. So that it still has to figure that out. So what you see sometimes is it'll start, focusing on this age range and then it'll shift over time as it's figuring those things out. But it's trying to predict how to best get you the most conversions. And again, a point against cost caps is like, if you use too low cost caps, it won't even try to
expand and to essentially scale.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So we have 10 more minutes. I am going to actually get out some of the questions that we had. Okay. I love this question.
Shoot, sorry.
Should credible big unicorn brands make ugly ads?
Yes. What? Everyone should. Everyone should. That doesn't mean you only have to make ugly ads. Make pretty ads too. I'm not against that. I'm not saying don't make pretty ads. But yes, everyone should be making stuff that makes sense and is relatable and fits into the feed for your audience. Even the most luxurious of brands can and should do that.
And I want to tap into that because that was actually the number one question that I got today.
It's a question I get all the time.
How does it make sense for luxury brands? How can luxury brands do this without damaging the brand?
Yeah, the game is authenticity, okay? So what's the biggest problem? If you're a luxury brand, like go shoot the product on a phone, on a private jet, on a yacht, okay?
Yeah.
And if you turn to me and say, well, Barry, I don't have access to those. My question to you is, are you really fucking luxury if you don't have access to those things? No, you're fucking not.
Also, luxury brands, it's like, it's exclusive. You don't want everyone to buy. So like sometimes like I see luxury brands like, oh, we want to scale using Facebook. And I'm like, that's kind of like your luxury. Like there's sort of like a toss and turn. I like there's some weird give and take, I think, with luxury brands who want to use Facebook as their main scaling method without
it's hard
putting in,
Yeah.
you know, that clout effort essentially.
I think that the clout effort is important, but like really comes down to how you shoot it and making the aesthetic right. Because look, if you're a luxury brand, all you're thinking of is like, okay, we get the best models, we get the best lighting, we get the best cameras, right? Because we are this brand, so obviously everything has to be the best. But like in reality, just find ways to skip some of those.
Yeah.
And invest instead in the setting, in the vibe, in the environment, in the whatever.
And shoot on
the
an
story,
iPhone. Yeah.
And shoot it on an iPhone, shoot it relatable. And there are brands doing this. There
Yeah.
are fundamentally brands that have been doing this and making that interesting content. Was it Bentley? I think did that. Like they had an Indian comedian doing a thing, like doing TikToks with the car.
Oh, I saw that. And
Yeah.
I've seen Gucci do this style of ad where they're shooting some of their, like, it's essentially BTS content, like behind the scenes. Like I encourage brands to also consider behind the scenes content.
I don't know if it's
Well, if they're doing especially apparel, this is something I see Anani Bing do, which is like a New York City brand that's more luxury in nature, and they've been shooting all of their campaigns recently for Facebook and Instagram on an iPhone, but they also have a heavy assist from dynamic product ads.
Sure.
So
yeah, there's just so much that like. Yeah, we could go on forever. Yes, you can shoot luxury in that way. Find a way to shoot it uglier, shoot it more authentic, and that makes it way more like, again, if you can shoot it in those really high, beautiful places, invest in that.
yeah,
Right? Don't shoot it in a trailer park. Like that would be bad. Don't do that part ugly, but pair it with other high value luxury products and goods. That's how I'd do it.
If Rolls Royce would ever like to make a Post-it note ad with me, I accept.
They can and should. They probably shouldn't, but if they did, like they could think of like how to make, use a fancier pen. Use a $400 pen. I actually said that to someone. I was like, okay, write the note with a Tiffany pen.
And that kind of signaling in your ad is something that I love breaking down. So for a brand like Cuts, like when comparing a brand like Cuts versus True Classic, it's actually so interesting to look at how Cuts differentiates themselves because they're using a remote like suitcase in their ads.
Yeah.
And they're clearly flying private. They're clearly
Are they
at a
doing
lounge.
that? I haven't noticed that.
Yeah,
I gotta look more at that.
if you
That's
look
interesting.
inside of their ad account and like their campaigns, that's how they
But that might be unnecessary. They might be going. They might need to make them uglier. Like maybe that is aspirational and maybe that's good, but that might be overdoing it. Maybe not. I don't know. I'd have to go take a closer look.
Take a closer look.
Yeah.
I like what they do. Another question that I got from Shelby, who we actually spent with time in.
Shelby
with
was wearing this hat on Instagram yesterday. I was like,
And I saw
thrilled.
she's making ads for you for Rotten.
Oh, is she?
I thought she was. Yeah,
I
she
hope
said
so.
She tagged you yesterday. Said she was making ads for you.
Oh my God, maybe I missed that. Oh gosh, I'm so excited. Okay.
Okay, great. So a question that she has for you is if you could partner with and make ads for any single brand out there, who would you want to partner with and why?
Rotten.
Not Rotten.
Creative freedom. No, like I do mean that. Like I really, by the way, I get offered tons of opportunities to work with lots of brands, and like people want to start things up and ask me all the time, which is I'm very honored and flattered by. But like this is one where it's just like, oh my gosh, like where it's alternative, it's weird, it's fun. We're gonna do some crazy stuff. Smart people are involved. Like we have an amazing animator, designer guy, creative director. He's awesome, and like, but I don't know if there's any other brands like I really want. I have worked with my like ideal dream brands before. Like I've worked on a lot of these. Like I don't know what they're.
Dr. Squatch?
I haven't worked with Dr. Squatch, and I don't need to. I don't care to. Like I have nothing else like to prove to myself in that way.
Hell yeah.
So I don't care. Like I'm secure in that way. Maybe I'll come back to that. People have asked me this question before, and I've worked on so many big brands anymore. I just don't care.
It's
And in
probably
fact,
a good way if they're watching
honestly,
this to get you.
yeah, honestly, genuinely, I've worked with some brands like I've really liked before, and it's only ruined it for me. Like
Relatable content.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Like I'm sure, like if I worked on Liquid Death, right, that'd be cool. But like I bet that would make it not as fun. I wouldn't. care about. Not that that's a brand I care that much about, but yeah.
Yeah. Another question I always really like to ask people too, and you've talked about this a lot, but what are the creators that you really admire and follow?
Mr. Beast. That's it. Doesn't matter.
That's it.
No, Mr. Beast, Colin Samir. I watch a lot of Colin and Samir because they're talking about the business of creative, and it's not Facebook ads. They're talking about content and making content for people, and story, and like it's really cool to see them break some of that stuff down and hear, you know, their interviews with creators, and then the creators are talking about building stuff for audiences and building stuff. So all of that's incredible. Anything where you can go listen to Mr. Beast talk about content, 99% of that is
His Colin and Samir
It's
episodes
unreal.
are actually where you should start.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it was one of those where he said like, don't worry about like the algorithm. It's not ever the algorithm, it's the audience.
Yes.
Right. Just replace the word algorithm with the word audience. And that's what's not working for you. Right. It's not the algorithm, it's the audience.
Yeah.
So there's so much there because he just is unrelenting in terms of like making content that gets people's attention and keeps people retained and keep them watching.
He is the person that goes the furthest and digs the deepest, I think.
Yeah.
He is obsessed with it. Like
And
when
he is obsessed with it. And he gets everyone around him to give him negative critical feedback. And
Yeah.
like no one else does that. Like everyone should be doing that more. I try to do that as much as I can. Like I don't want validation. I want people to tell me like, how can I make this better?
Yeah. And I think that's something that I actually find a lot of advertisers and internal teams have a hard time with, is giving that critical feedback. And that's something
It's
I
really hard.
struggled with as a leader initially too.
Everyone
'Cause
just wants validation.
Yeah, because a lot of people told me creatives are really sensitive. You
Yeah.
have to like really pad your feedback with creative teams. And one of the last big impactful lessons I learned at Thesis was actually being the asshole in the room was a gift.
For me, it is for sure.
And that was something that when I was leaving, my team told me, "Oh, I actually appreciated how harsh you were." And it was during the times when I wasn't giving that like harsh feedback that actually there was more friction, and creatives want to be challenged.
Yeah.
They
we do better, I think. I mean, I consider myself like a creative, sure. Like I do better with pressure. I don't always want the pressure or need like realize it, but I know that I get more out of it when I have more pressure on me.
Yeah. Well, Barry, it was super awesome having you in the studio
Thank
today,
you.
writing this out, doing this thing. It's
Yeah.
really new for the both of us.
Yeah.
Where can people find out more about you
Yeah.
and reach out to you if they want to work with you?
The easiest way is bhott.com. That's like my links page. It'll take you to figure out whatever you want to do with me, or hotgrowth.com, HOTT growth.com, or find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever. I'm about to pass 20,000 Twitter followers. By the time this goes live, I'll probably have passed it.
Yeah, it'll take a
be some
minute.
time. Yeah. So that'll be like literally hours away from now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so follow me on there. I say some fun stuff. Subscribe to my newsletter if I write it more. It's some fun stuff there. So yeah, please find me wherever, and then click on something, and then there'll be something there for you. Go buy a hat. I don't know.
The hats are pretty expensive, though, aren't they?
There's a discount code
Yeah.
if you subscribe to the newsletter. Sure.
Awesome. Well, everyone, thank you so much for joining. I'll catch you in next week's episode.